welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something pretty fascinating, what many have called a magic formula for success.
Right. And this isn't just, theory.
Yeah.
It's a set of principles really distilled by Andrew Carnegie, the industrialist. He felt everyone should have access to this.
Yeah.
And the scale is just huge. Think about Charles M. Schwab applying it. They estimated it's worth at, what, $600 million?
Yeah, 600 million. That's staggering.
It really is. Such influence.
But what's really interesting, I think, is how widely it applies. Sure, it's linked to massive fortunes, but the sources show it works for, say, creating harmony at home.
Okay.
Or even, there's this one example, boosting a clergyman's income way up, $75,000 a year, which was a lot back then.
Wow.
The common thread, though, seems to be you've got to be ready for it.
Ready for it.
Yeah, prepared.
Yeah.
And maybe most importantly, you need to know exactly what it is you want. Real clarity.
And the research behind this, it wasn't a weekend project. No, not at all. The authors spent, what, 20 years on it?
20 years analyzing hundreds of big names, Ford, Wrigley, Teddy Roosevelt, Edison.
Right.
And many of them apparently pointed to these very principles for their own success.
It's almost presented like if you're truly open, the secret just kind of reveals itself.
Jumps off the page, as they say.
Exactly. Which brings us quite neatly to the first big principle.
Okay.
Definite desire.
Definite desire, not just wishing.
Precisely. Wishing is easy, right? We all wish for things. But this is different. It's about desiring something like riches with such intensity it becomes an obsession.
An obsession.
And then from that obsession, you make actual definite plans, ways and means to get there.
Right, practical steps.
Practical steps backed up by persistence, a persistence that just refuses to see failure as an option. That's the combination that gets results.
And there's that story of Edwin C. Barnes. It really brings this to life.
Oh yeah, Barnes. Great example.
His desire was so specific. Work with Thomas Edison. Not just get a job there, but be his associate.
A key distinction.
And he didn't know Edison. Had zero money for a ticket. So he, hopped a freight train.
Yeah, rode the blind baggage, as they called it, just showed up.
Incredible. And Edison apparently said something like,
Edison's quote is great. He said, he stood there before me, looking like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in the expression of his face, which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come after.
Wow. You could just see it in him.
You could. Barnes essentially burned all his bridges, There was no going back.
Right.
That desire became his dominating obsession. It just shows the power of having that single, clear purpose.
And it's not just business success, is it? The author uses a really personal story, too.
That's right, about his son.
Yeah, instilling this desire in his son, who had hearing difficulties, the desire to hear and speak as any normal person hears and speaks. And he mixed that desire with faith, strong faith, and just kept at it persistently.
And eventually it worked. That handicap became an asset.
It's powerful stuff. Shows how these ideas can apply anywhere, really, if the desire is strong enough.
Almost anything seems possible.
Okay, so you've got this burning desire, you know what you want, but then life happens, right? Things get tough.
Exactly. And that's where the next critical piece comes in. Persistence. Staying the course.
Because the material is pretty clear, success usually comes after you've faced setbacks.
Oh, definitely. Temporary defeat. Maybe even, what looks like total failure. It's almost guaranteed.
Like the story of Mr. Darby and the gold mine.
Ah, yes. Darby. That one really sticks with you.
He quits digging. Just 3 feet away from the gold.
3 feet. Can you imagine the feeling? Finding that out later.
Oh, gut-wrenching.
But that failure, as painful as it was, taught him the lesson.
To keep on keeping on.
Exactly. And he took that lesson, applied it to selling life insurance.
And became massively successful, one of the top guys.
Selling over $1 million a year. His later stickability, you could call it, came directly from learning from that earlier could-feel bit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And he saw that same power somewhere else too, didn't he?
He did. Another great little anecdote. He saw this young black child just defiantly demanding 50 cents from her uncle. My mammy's got to have that 50 cents.
Just sheer will.
Pure, unwavering determination. She overcame the uncle's temper just by refusing to back down. Darby recognized it instantly.
As the same power.
The same power he learned the hard way at the gold mine, that absolute refusal to quit.
It seems like failure plays tricks on us sometimes.
Well, the text calls failure a trickster with a keen sense of irony and cunning.
Yeah.
Like it enjoys tripping you up right when you're closest.
That feels true sometimes.
And get this. Over 500 of the most successful people interviewed said their biggest breakthrough came just one step beyond the point where they'd previously been defeated.
Just one step. That's
Yeah.
motivating, actually.
It is. Keep going.
And we see this persistence in, more modern examples, too. Marie Dressler finding huge success late in life.
Right, around 60, after being really down and out.
Or Eddie Cantor losing everything in the '29 crash.
Yeah, the stock market crash wiped him out.
But he used that persistence, that courage, and rebuilt everything. Made a fortune again. $10,000 a week.
It shows persistence isn't just like gritting your teeth, it's a state of mind.
A state of mind.
Yeah, something you can cultivate. And the material is emphatic. There is no substitute for persistence.
No substitute.
It's described almost like a hidden test, a guide testing you through discouragement.
And if you can't take the heat...
You don't make the grade. It's a filter, really, for determination.
Okay, so desire, persistence... But where do the actual ideas come from? The sparks.
Good question. That leads us to the creative engine, imagination.
Right. And the claim here is pretty bold. Man can create anything which he can imagine.
It is bold. And it also argues that now is the best time for developing imagination because everything's changing so fast.
Makes sense. Constant change demands new thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the text breaks imagination down into two types, which is helpful.
Okay.
First, there's synthetic imagination. This is basically rearranging old ideas, concepts, plans into new combinations.
So working with what's already out there, like remixing?
Pretty much. It's crucial for innovation, but it uses existing material.
Got it. And the second type?
That's creative imagination. This is described as something deeper, like a sixth sense. Where your mind connects with infinite intelligence, they call it, where you get hunches, inspirations, completely new ideas, basic ideas.
And people who tap into that regularly.
They're often seen as geniuses. They're accessing something beyond just logic.
That distinction really clarifies things.
Yeah.
And it fits perfectly with that story about the old kettle.
Ah, the Coca-Cola story, right. Though it's not named explicitly.
Seems like it. A
Right.
clerk buys an old kettle, some instructions.
Yeah.
Uses his life savings.
Right.
But the key ingredient, the thing he added, was the idea.
The idea. That's what unleashed the potential.
And that one idea created massive wealth. Thousands of jobs, sugar, glass, advertising.
Transformed a whole city, all from one idea in that kettle.
It just shows how valuable ideas are.
Totally. And the text says there is no standard price on ideas. The creator makes their own price.
If they're smart about it.
Exactly. And success isn't always about having the initial idea yourself. Sometimes it's about recognizing a great idea.
And running with it.
And having the imagination to see its potential and then acting on it. Definitely.
Okay, so imagination gives us ideas. But what about knowledge? We're always told knowledge is power.
Right, but here's where the material challenges that common idea.
How so?
It states very clearly, knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and intelligently directed
Organized and directed.
through practical plans of action to the definite end of accumulation of money.
So knowledge on its own isn't enough.
Exactly. Knowledge is only potential power. It needs application, structure, purpose.
That actually points to a weakness in a lot of education, doesn't it?
It does. The text argues that schools often fail to teach their students how to organize and use knowledge after they acquire it.
They teach you stuff, but not necessarily what to do with it.
Right. Look at Edison or Ford again. Limited formal schooling.
Yeah.
But they were masters at acquiring specialized knowledge and, crucially, applying it to solve problems and create value. It wasn't about how much they knew in total, but how they used what they knew.
It's an interesting paradox, then. We have free libraries, public schools, amazing resources.
Incredible resources.
But maybe they're undervalued because they're free.
Could be. And that might be why, as the text notes, employers often look favorably on employees who take, like, home study courses.
Because it shows initiative, ambition.
Exactly. It signals they're actively organizing and seeking applicable knowledge, not just passively receiving it.
Okay, so organized knowledge, applied knowledge, that leads somewhere else, doesn't it? The idea of working with others.
It does. It leads directly to the mastermind principle.
The mastermind. How's that defined here?
It's defined as the coordination of knowledge and effort. in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose.
Okay, teamwork with a shared goal.
Yes, but it goes deeper. There's a psychic element described.
Psychic.
Well, it says, no two minds ever come together without thereby creating a third invisible, intangible force which may be likened to a third mind.
Whoa, like a collective intelligence.
Kind of. A synergistic energy that benefits everyone in the group. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts, mentally speaking.
You can see that with Ford, can't you?
Yeah.
His biggest leaps happened when he was collaborating closely with Edison, Firestone, Burroughs.
Absolutely. That circle of minds was incredibly powerful. It wasn't just Ford, it was the mastermind they formed.
And the example of Gandhi is amazing, too.
It's truly astounding. Getting 200 million people to coalesce and move in unison as a single mind.
Through faith and cooperation, not force.
It shows the immense power of shared purpose and harmonious effort on a massive scale.
So how does this connect to, say, selling your own skills, marketing yourself?
Directly. The material introduces the QQS formula for marketing personal services.
QQS.
Quality, quantity, plus the proper spirit of cooperation. That combination equals perfect salesmanship of service.
Quality, quantity, spirit. Okay.
It reflects a big shift in business, moving away from, a public be damned attitude
Right.
towards, we are obligingly at your service, sir. This applies everywhere: banks, shops, railroads.
And definitely to individuals selling their skills today.
Especially today, it's all about the value and service you provide and the spirit in which you provide it.
There's that neat story about the unemployed salesman.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. He gets an idea from the author.
Has a typist prepare a compelling brief.
Right. And basically invents a new job for himself, a merchandising specialist for personal services.
Helping people market themselves better and taking a cut of their increased earnings.
Exactly. It shows there's a real market for helping people package and sell their unique value effectively. Very entrepreneurial.
Okay, we've covered a lot of the how-tos. But what about the things that stop people? The internal stuff.
Yes, the inner enemies. That's crucial. We need to talk about indecision and fear.
The big ones.
The text calls indecision the seedling of fear.
The seedling. So it starts there.
Yeah, it suggests indecision festers, crystallizes into Daco, and then doubt and indecision merge and become full-blown fear.
That's a powerful progression. Uncertainty to paralysis.
It really is, and it ties back to education again.
How so?
The argument is that a major weakness of education systems is that they don't teach or encourage definite decision-making.
So people drift.
They often end up drifting into jobs or situations they didn't actively choose. They didn't make a firm decision.
Whereas the opposite, making a definite decision, has incredible power, like the American Revolution example.
Exactly. That didn't start with battles. It started with a decision.
Hancock, Adams, Lee, signing the Declaration.
They literally staked their lives on that decision. It was absolute commitment.
And the point is, that same power, the power of decisive commitment, is what we need to use to be self-determining.
Precisely. But fear often gets in the way.
The 6 basic fears.
Right. Let's list them. Fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
That covers a lot of human anxiety.
It does, and these fears are described as paralyzing. They kill reason, imagination, self-reliance. They just lead to misery.
The bit about the fear of poverty making someone unable to sustain their spirit, that's harsh, but probably true for many.
It's a heavy burden, but then there's something even worse, apparently.
Worse than those 6.
The 7th basic evil, susceptibility to negative influences.
Negative influences from outside, people, media.
Seems like it. And it's called more deeply seated and more often fatal than the 6 fears.
Wow. And the key difference between the successful and unsuccessful
is that successful people actively protect themselves from these negative influences, while the unsuccessful often don't. They absorb negativity.
So what's the antidote? How do you fight fear and negativity?
The core antidote is control over your own mind.
Okay.
The ability to choose what thoughts you feed it. Consistently choosing positive thought impulses.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Of course. But the text suggests a kind of blanket cure for fear. Make a general blanket decision that nothing which life has to offer is worth the price of worry.
Just decide not to worry.
Decide that peace of mind is more valuable. That decision, when truly made, is said to bring poise, calm, and ultimately happiness.
And there's a self-analysis aspect too, right? Asking yourself tough questions.
Yes, definitely. Questions like, do I feel self-pity? Do I envy others? Do I dwell on past failures? It's about identifying where you're susceptible.
Taking an honest look at your own mental habits.
Exactly, so you can start to consciously change them and regain control.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot to take in, but it connects everything together really well.
It does form a cohesive philosophy.
It really hammers home that core message.
Yeah.
You are the master of your own earthly destiny.
Just as surely as you have the power to control your own thoughts.
Everything starts with a thought, an impulse.
Right. And when you think about it, the world isn't lacking resources or opportunities.
No, it seems like there's abundance,
The text says, the world is an overabundance of everything the heart could desire.
with nothing standing between us and our desires, excepting lack of a definite purpose.
Lack of a definite purpose. It puts the responsibility and the power squarely back on us.
So we hope this deep dive has maybe sparked some ideas for you, our listener, opened up the possibilities that this knowledge offers.
Yeah, think about these principles we've walked through.
Definite desire, that unwavering persistence, using your imagination, organizing your knowledge.
Tapping into the mastermind synergy, and crucially, tackling those inner roadblocks, fear, indecision, negativity.
It all builds a powerful framework.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe a challenge for you.
Okay.
If it's true that success comes to those who become success conscious, and if you really can control your own mind and feed it the thoughts you choose,
Then the question is,
what definite purpose are you going to choose? What goal will you infuse with intense desire, with emotion, and pursue with persistent action? Starting right now.